every bit of information we possibly can get our grubby little hands on in real time to the public. So as soon as I get it, I pass it on and make it public. So I can't even remember the beginning of your question. I just talked and talked.
It's good. That's fine. You mentioned content, and that's one of the things that I know all of us certainly can glean a lot learning from listening, is knowing where the gaps are in terms of getting information out. How has that changed the content that you put out on the website, public relations, the press releases you put out, anything that kind of? How has that really affected knowing the pulse of what's being said out there, and at the same time, once that information goes out, whether it actually hit the mark from that perspective?
That part is a little slower to happen. I think in every big organization is the, moving from the listening to making it actionable listening. And we've been able to do that in many cases, especially within communications. And it affects everything. The content that those 1,500 mentions each day inform every single thing that we put out. We have a meeting every morning at 9:30 and sort of discuss what we're going to be talking about that day. And many times, there's a lot going on at the Red Cross, so way more than we could ever even talk about on a given day. But I sit in that meeting and I inform the colleagues what people are already interested in during the day. And so how can we either tie that to our mission so that we're not fighting upstream, but we're going along with the flow of what people are already interested in that day? Or can we just pay attention to them and really ask them, what do they need from us today? So it's affected one of my triple bosses has recently said, I don't know, maybe we should stop putting out press releases altogether, which we're not close to actually doing, but Twitter's pretty powerful for us.
So one of the other things I wanted to ask you a bit about is we've seen companies like Dell take their experience. They've been out kind of like pioneering a lot of the stuff and sharing that experience amongst other enterprises to help them and help the whole industry grow as a whole. I know you've been very involved in the nonprofit community. What are some of the things, first of all, a quick question. How many nonprofits do we have in the audience? Okay, great.
My people.
And so the quick question would be, how are you able to, what are some of the things you guys have been doing in the community of nonprofits in order to help them move forward using social media as a great kind of platform to help?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things. I live in sort of a limited world because I'm all social all the time. So one thing I've done is really connected in with the N10 community. Sarah's out there somewhere, which is so great and has become something of a family amongst nonprofit. You might be surprised to learn that it is a pretty competitive industry. We're fighting for dollars and for survival, and it's been really heartening to be able to share everything we've learned along the way with the other people who have a similar job to mine in the nonprofit sector. So really, it's a pretty cool sector to work in for a lot of reasons, but one of them is this ability to be open and transparent about our learning processes here. So one of the things that we've done, I wrote a handbook for we have about 600 chapters around the country, and at some point they were all like, can we play too? We see you doing this. So we wrote a handbook that gives them a step-by-step sort of guide to creating their own strategy that's in line with our national philosophy, but also gives them room to be valuable to their local stakeholders. And we've just shared that entire process, and Beth Cantor, is great at giving me a call and saying, what's new that's happened this week? Yeah. And so really just sharing that knowledge, and I've learned so much from the colleagues there as well. But they were the first to help me when Haiti happened. I was trying not to panic too much about the number of incoming messages, and especially those life-threatening ones were sort of landing like a thud on my shoulders, and I was like, this is going to be really depressing and hard. And they really stepped up without me even having to ask and say, what can we do to help you? And so it's been a really lovely experience.
Well, just speaking of that, I mean, that's one of the things that I think a lot of us have seen, in the fact that listening and appreciating and building those relationships over time and treating community as an investment and building that community when times are tough. That's when friends help friends, especially, is when times are tough. you have any sense of that kind of community and the investment, the amount of people out there? Have you felt every time there's something that you've come up against, like in the natural disaster, have you felt more and more support as part of the kind of the efforts that you've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really heartening, and I'll tell you very candidly. After the earthquake in Haiti, I think we doubled the number of Facebook fans and Twitter followers that we had in early January of 2010, and so there were some people internally who were like, "Oh, this is great," you know, in the face of an unspeakable tragedy. If anything can be great, but you know, they were heartened that we had that, and I was just scared to death. These people are going away as soon as the news cycle moves on.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and I guess there's some threshold to clicking that unlike button, but hopefully what we're doing is providing a value and a level of trust and attention to them that it does feel like it's a building and growing movement or an army. You know, the ball just keeps getting bigger and bigger as it's rolling along, and it's really nice to have that sense of security that there's so many people within the network that are ready at a moment or a second's notice to help out.
So a couple more questions. One of the ones I want to ask you, I mean, we just watched a YouTube video,
yeah.
right? Community members, fans often like to be able to share kind of, these are my principles, these are the things that I value, and that's kind of like a badge of honor. People will follow you on Twitter, will follow you, like you on Facebook, because they believe in the cause, and they want to be seen as supporting it, and they're going to be there for it. What are some of the other things you've been doing in some of the other social media channels, be it YouTube and that kind of thing, in terms of you know, helping activate the community?
Sure. Well, that video that we just showed was part of a film competition that we were a part of, and it was a finalist in the competition, and the videos that came up were just amazing. Some of the other things, I actually just started a little unofficial Tumblr to try to keep track of all of the hundreds of creative ways people are supporting Japan by donating 100% of their proceeds to whatever this creative outlet is that they have to give to the world. And so it's been really neat to sort of watch for that. I don't even have to look for it. They come flying in. I can't possibly even catch them all, which is pretty heartening too. But you know, we're always looking to encourage and empower the communities wherever they're spending time. So I don't spend a whole lot of time on gimmicky contests and that sort of thing. We try to just be very real and you know, just there when someone has a question, or you know, ready to provide value in the moment when people are looking for it. So
the final question I'd like to ask you, and it's one that's very current, of course. You're the American Red Cross. Mm-hmm. But you're kind of the conduit for a lot of folks that believe in, you know, helping others in natural disasters, and they don't, you know, thank goodness they don't always happen near home, but they do happen. And of course, Japan being one of the recent ones. How are you in coordination with the other Red Crosses, and are they doing anything with social media themselves, and are you able to kind of work with them on that?
Yeah, so there's a language barrier, obviously, between us and the Japanese Red Cross, but there is a tweeter from the Japanese Red Cross. She's at Saya, SAYAJRCS, for Japan Red Cross Society, mm-hmm. and she's updating very frequently. Even the other night when they had I guess was night before last, the 7.4 aftershock, you know, she was right there on it. It was the middle of the night for them. So I've worked with her a little bit, and the Canadian Red Cross, your mm-hmm. homeland, mm-hmm. Has been incredible. We've really started working together very closely because we're geographically close. And we have the Federation, which is mm-hmm. sort of our governing body out of Geneva, and they are definitely helping, and British Red Cross is great. So yeah, it's really brought together Red Crossers from all over the world that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to become friends now are, and supporting each other's work. So it's
actually the community of the Red Cross organization
that's
become tighter
sort of
as well.
An internal, yeah.
Wow. Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Wendy, for sharing all this with us. I think there's some valuable information, whether it's nonprofit or outside. You've created an amazing amazing case study in terms of the things that you can do to build community to help folks. So I just wanted to say, on behalf of everyone, of course, thank you very much, Wendy. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, sure. So maybe we can cue the next video for our next guest. So I'd like to invite Bonin Baugh, Global Head of Digital.
Right, yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Boston. This is awesome. I'm very excited to be here. How are you?
Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
See, Bonin and I go way back. Bonin was actually at Weber Shandwick, and when we first met him, and Bonin was, I believe, probably the first customer, first guy to believe in going with Radian6. Back when it was, I think you said it was a piece of paper at the time, and an idea in someone's head. So,
yeah.
So thank you for
Chris
that.
Ramsey called me. I think it was a cold call. I haven't seen Chris yet, but he sent me an email. And it was a piece of paper that had some requirements in this weird Canadian accent. I was like, "Yeah, we'll trust you. Yeah, we'll go with it. We'll try." And I think 6 months later, we rolled it across Weber, and I'll tell you, Chris went to every single training. We rolled it across globally. I think it was 22 countries, 11 languages, 40 customers, and he was at every single one. Even though I think a lot of the people at Weber Shandwick were like, "What is this Radian6 social media monitoring thing?" Then I met you and Rich.
Yep.
I got lost in a car with you, and then,
yes, we did.
And somehow when I went to PepsiCo, we renegotiated our contract with Rich, and I was on vacation. For some reason I thought that was a good idea. My girlfriend loved that.
Yeah.
And then we did this with you guys, I think, which was Mission Control was really interesting because it was stuff that you guys hadn't done yet. It was brand new for us. We hadn't done it. And I know our tech guys were on the phone. You guys were like, oh, but you guys, as true of a great partner that you guys are and have always been, you guys made it happen.
Well, thank you.
And then just really quickly, a quick sentimental moment. My most impressionable moment, and I think I told this to Marcel earlier, was at South by Southwest. My father, who's now 84, who was 81, this was the first time he went to South by Southwest with me, and he's a photographer, so he was taking photos, and there's actually a photo of Marcel and Rich, and I think Marcel was worth a lot less then, by the way, FYI. And we went to a meeting, and my father was there. Marcel leaned over to me, and he said, "You know, it must be great to have your father have a chance to see what you do for a living." And that moment didn't really mean that much to me at that time. And then after Marcel told that to me, I thought a lot, and that has been a moment that has stuck in my mind forever. And so I think that is just a mark of a great partner, partners that are able to be in your life above and beyond just as part of your business. So I really love you guys. I think everybody should give it up for Radian6. I mean, what you guys have done.
Thank you, Mark.
And you guys deserve it all. Okay, where's the hard questions? Let's go.
All right, hard questions now. So actually, we looked at Mission Control, right? You guys probably I'm sure maybe some other companies had tried that, but you were the first to come right out and launch this. It was big news. I'm sure all of us have seen this video when it first came out. And it really put a mark. It was a milestone where people were going, wow, maybe we should be doing a Mission Control. What was the idea behind Mission Control in kind of bringing it to this level?
Yeah, well, we realized that we needed to bring the customer voice into the organization in a way that every single person across the organization could digest it. And so we were thinking a lot about it. We actually did a lot of trips to newsrooms. And so we were in one of the newsrooms, and I remember you walk in and there's all these TVs around in the newsroom, right? And all of a sudden, so we went to an editorial meeting, and the editorial team was talking about here's what they were going to do, here's what the story was, da-da-da. We walk outside, and Obama must have said something, because every single TV went to Obama, and the entire room erupted, and they were changing what the news was going to be that week, that day based on what Obama said. And we all said, wow, imagine if a brand